Hello, this is Angelia, and you are listening to or watching the podcast, Why You Do What You Do. The podcast that talks about human development and psychology to maybe help you figure out a little bit more about why you do what you do. Last time we were talking about variable rate theories of aging, and we're going to pick back up on that. Free radical theory focuses on harmful effects of free radicals. I think we all have heard about this and know what it is, the bad little things in your body, the carcinogens and things. These are highly unstable oxygen atoms or molecules formed during metabolism, which react with and can damage cell membranes, cell proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and even your DNA. So, these things are not good. Excuse me. And you can actually probably Google, foods that have a lot of free radicals and chemicals and things and find out things that are probably bad for you. Damage from free radicals accumulates with age. It's not something that just kind of goes away. It has been associated with arthritis, muscular dystrophy, cataracts, cancer, late onset diabetes, and neurological disorders such as Parkinson's disease. Now, I've got the arthritis. I'm trying to not get the diabetes, but my mom and my grandma before me did, so I'm trying to not go there, Support for free radical theory comes from research in which fruit flies, given extra copies of genes that eliminate free radicals, lived as much as 1/3 longer than usual. Now, this is why they do animal research. And I know PETA does not approve. I understand. Some of the stuff that goes on I don't approve of either. But, in general, most of the time, it's something that's going to be helpful to folks. Conversely, a strain of mice bred without a gene called MSRA that normally protects against free radicals had shorter than normal lifespans. So there's something there. Those free radicals are a problem. There also is evidence that mutations in the DNA of aging mitochondria, which generate energy in human cells. If you don't know what your mitochondria is, Google that. It's a little doodad in your cells. There's actually a game years ago called Mitochondrial something or other I used to play. It's like a Final Fantasy game, but anyway, it had to do with that. Cause them to produce free radicals. So, that's another thing. Although research on the reputed effects of antioxidant supplements is counteracting free radical activity, is generally non-conclusive. So, if you're taking antioxidant supplements, they may or may not work. They're really not sure yet. In one study, high intake of vitamin C and of vegetables high in beta-carotene did seem to protect against early death. So get your vitamin C and get your beta-carotene. Particularly from heart disease, which runs in my family. So I take my vitamins every day. Rate of living theory suggests that the body can do just so much work, and that's all. I mean, you can only handle so much wear or tear. You're like your car. You're going to start breaking down. The faster it works, the faster it wears out. So, when you have a lot of, housewives or women who do hard work and men who do hard work and they're wearing out, this is why. You've wore your body down. Thus, speed of metabolism, y'all know my tongue, determines length of life. Fish whose metabolism is lowered by putting them in cooler water live longer than they would in warm water. I heard, a lot of the electric companies recommend keeping your thermostat down 2 degrees, or up 2 degrees in the summer. And that actually might help your metabolism. So, it's actually helpful to be a little more cool than hot. And I prefer to be a little more cool than hot. My husband, he likes to be hot. He likes to wrap up in quilts, when it's like 60 degrees outside. And I'm like, dude, you're cooking me. Autoimmune theory suggests that an aging immune system can become confused and release antibodies that attack the body's own cells. So again, the older you get, the more problems are going to develop. This malfunction, called autoimmunity, is thought to be responsible for some aging-related diseases. Now, if you hear anybody say they got autoimmune disease, that's what it is. It's a bad thing where, you know, their body's attacking itself. So I have like discoid lupus. I have an aunt that has systematic lupus and a friend that has systematic lupus. And there's other autoimmune diseases that, you know, where your body is attacking itself. So that's a problem. A part of the picture seems to be how cell death is regulated. And again, that's nothing that you can control. That's something that's going on in your body. Normally, this process is genetically programmed. Now, I developed osteosclerosis and myelofibrosis, and I was given some experimental JAK2 drugs, and my cell size was 24% over my red cell size, and it got down to 10% over, to where my doctor said I wouldn't even say you had it. You know, basically, you know, it was remission. Now, on the last test, it was back up to 12% over, so it went the wrong way. So, you know, we'll see. However, when mechanisms for destruction of unneeded cells malfunctions, a breakdown in cell cleanout can lead to stroke damage, Alzheimer's disease, cancer, or autoimmune disease. So, you know, if your body's not taking out the garbage, so to speak, that garbage will sit in there and cause problems. Sometimes malfunction is triggered by exposure to environmental insults, such as exposure to ultraviolet rays, x-rays, and chemotherapy. And that's why they don't like to do a whole lot of x-rays on you, because your body doesn't like it. And it also does not like chemotherapy, and we know that's because it's destroying it. Like I said, I had two uncles that had very similar cancers. One stopped taking the chemo and radiation because he said it made him too sick. He didn't like that feeling. He lived another year and a half. The other uncle kept taking the chemo and radiation, and he died within 4 months. So it is hard on you, you know. The odds are that they do this so you can hopefully beat the cancer, but again, the treatment itself is very hard on you, and if you're not strong enough to beat the cancer, it's going to take you out. On the other hand, problems may be caused by the death of needed cells. The growing receptivity of T cells, white cells that destroy invading substances, and no, it's not like, you know, the T virus and, you know, the, what is that? Resident Evil games. To signals to self-destruct may help account for the weakening of the aging immune system. So again, the older we get, the less able our body is to take care of business. Genetic programming and variable rate theories have practical consequences. If human beings are programmed to age at a certain rate, they can do little to retard the process except to try to alter the appropriate genes. And this is why they're studying this stuff. And this is why rich people get gene therapy. Because, you know, they can afford this to help themselves live longer. The rest of us, we're screwed. We can't afford that. So, you know, no gene therapy happened here. But, you know, like I say, the older you get, the harder it is for your body just to take care of business. To that end, scientists have begun to identify alleles that occur with unusual frequency in centenarians. And that's a little thing on your DNA. And they're looking for things that are in common with these centenarians, these 100-year-old folks, in hopes that maybe someday they can trigger the good stuff so that we can all live to be that old. Laboratory research on genetic modifications in animals also holds promise. If, on the other hand, aging is variable, then sound lifestyle and healthy practices may influence it. Now, again, I'm not doing any experiments on animals, so don't, make no comments and messages on me about, that. This is things that people do, I'm not one of them. I'm sitting here at my table talking to you. I'm not out experimenting on animals, so don't talk to me about that. But again, like I say, genetics does play a part. If you had relatives live to be, 90, 100, 110, 120, chances are you also will live to be this old. However, there is no evidence to support the profusion of commercial anti-aging remedies now on the market. So, forget all that stuff. Throw it away. It's not going to work. It does nothing. I had a grandma who was 78 years old before she started getting wrinkly and getting gray hair. So, yeah, I'm 57 years old. A lot of people tell me I don't look like I'm 57 years old. And I say that's the case. My father, he's not gray. He's 83 years old. He still has black hair, and just has some wrinkles. So there's good genetics on that side too. And that's what his brother says. Oh, you got the good genes, because his brother has lost his hair and it's gray, and But forget the anti-aging stuff. It's not going to work. Moisturizer is important for your skin. It will go crepey and dry if you don't moisturize it. And it's not so much what you use, but it's that you use it regularly every day. So that's the key there. It seems likely that each of these theoretical perspectives offers part of the truth. So again, they haven't got it all figured out yet. They know pieces, but they don't know it all. Controllable environmental and lifestyle factors may interact with genetic factors to determine how long a person lives and in what condition. And that's most likely the case. What you do to your body and how your body is to begin with that you inherited probably is going to be the sum of your life. How far can the lifespan be extended? Everyone wants to know this. This is a question that man's been asking since the first person dropped dead. When Jean Calment of France died in 1997 at the age of 122, hers was the longest well-documented human lifespan. There have been other people who supposedly live longer, but they didn't have the birth certificates, documentation. They lived in rural areas, and no one could verify. You could verify. So it is possible for human beings to live even longer. Until recently, survival curves, percentages of people or animals who live to various ages, supported the idea of a biological limit to the lifespan, with more and more members of a species dying each year as they approach it. So that is the theory there, the survival curve, where only, like, say a dog lives to be 12 to 16 years old, or a cat lives to be 12 to 14 years old, or a human lives to be between 80 and 120 years old, and animals all live a certain length of time. Now in the Bible, it says the years of man shall be 120. So we got that from God. He pretty much told us, y'all gonna live about 120 years, give or take. So there you are. Although many people were living longer than in the past, the curve still ended around age 100. This suggested that, regardless of health and fitness, the maximum lifespan is not much higher. So, as we get older, just keep that in mind. However, it now appears that the pattern changes at a very old age. The rate of increase in mortality slows down after age 80. So if you make it to age 80, chances are you're going to live to be really old. And mortality rates begin to decrease after 100. So if you make it to 100, chances are you're going to make it older than that. People at 110 are no more likely to die in a given year than people in their 80s. So the longer you live, the longer you're gonna live. So that's good news. In Sweden, for example, the maximum lifespan increased from about 101 years in the 1860s to 108 years in the 1990s, mainly due to reduction in death rates after age 70. From this and other demographic evidence, and of course we know the Swedes are healthy people, they exercise, they eat well, so, and they live up where it's cold. At least one researcher concludes that there is no evidence of a fixed limit on the human lifespan. It would be, you would have to be in the perfect conditions to live, as long as you could. So, maybe in the future, scientists will find a way to stimulate that particular set of genes, and, we could live forever. And then the question becomes, would you want to? Animal research, too, is challenging the idea of an unalterable biological limit for each species. Scientists have extended the healthy lifespans of worms, fruit flies, and mice through slight genetic mutations. Again, I don't do this. I don't work on animals. Don't talk to me about it. But through these mutations, they have made these animals live longer. In human beings, however, genetic control of a biological process may be far more complex. The higher animal you go, the harder it is to pinpoint what one thing controls each one thing. Since no single gene or process seems responsible for senescence and the end of life, we are unlikely to find genetic quick fixes for aging. So, if you're hoping that you're going to just take a pill and not get old, probably not yet. One promising line of research is on dietary restriction. Rats fed 35 to 40% fewer calories than usual, but with all necessary nutrients, live as much as 50% longer than other laboratory rodents, about 1,500 days as compared with 1,000 days. Now we all know what dietary restrictions mean. You got to cut back on food intake. No one cares for this. No one likes this. This is why on everything they have a serving size. But like I say, we're not fans of this. But it does show in research that will help you live longer if you eat less food. You need to get all your nutrients in, and you need some calories so you can move around and do things, but just the right amount. That's hard to do. Now, I was talking to one doctor from India, and they said, where the old saying is that your heart's as big as your fist, and he said your stomach is as big as your two hands. And this is all the more food you need to be putting in it at one given time. And I've measured serving sizes and things before, and found that the serving size they give is usually for a person smaller than me. So it might be a thing of size. Like a smaller person might have one cookie or two, and a person my size, 2'5", might be able to do it too. Like my husband. If my husband ate the amount of food I did, he would be starving. He eats about four servings of anything, and he's still skinny. So he's got pretty good metabolism, and he's eating enough to where he's not a fat hog or anything. You can barely pinch an inch on him. You can still wear his high school jersey. Nice. But yeah, caloric restriction is the key. Like I said, none of us are happy about this. Especially if we're used to eating large amounts of food to feel full. And the more you eat, the more you stretch your stomach out, the more it takes for you to feel full. So it's kind of a bad cycle that you put on yourself. The more you eat, the more you have to eat so you don't feel hungry. But again, just because you feel hungry doesn't mean your body actually is. It just means your stomach is used to having that amount of food in it, and so it wants it. It starts gurgling, and your stomach growls and things because it's like, hey, we're empty, and you know, we like to have a steady stream here so we don't get ulcers or nothing like that. And you know, so it's a problem. It's a problem. But if you could cut down on your food intake, it will help you live longer. Caloric restriction also has been found to extend life in worms and fish. In fact, in virtually all species on which it has been tried. So there we go. Everyone can benefit from eating less food. I know that's not what you wanted to hear. I didn't want to hear it, but it's not what you want to hear. But eating less will help you live longer. And the doctors are all about this. You know, you should be weighing this for this height, and you know, like I said, everything has a serving size suggestion. But like I said, it doesn't take into fact. I mean, can you imagine Shaq, you know, having like 2 cookies? Do you think that's going to fill him up? I bet not. We're going to have to increase that by size. It's like I said, I think by size, like maybe someone under 5 foot can eat this amount, 5 to 5'5", double that, 5'5" to 6 foot, triple that, 6 foot to 6'5", quadruple that, 6'5" to 7, yeah, on and on like that, because the amount of food they can eat and need to eat is larger than someone who's smaller. So, you know, like I said, if I try to eat all the food my husband eat, I would just probably not be able to. I'd probably go in there and be sick, because, you know, I couldn't eat like 4 pieces of meat. 2 is good for me, so, yeah, no. But yeah, that's the bad news, is that if you want to live longer, you got to cut down on your food intake. These findings support rate of living theories that view the speed of metabolism or energy use as the crucial determinant of aging. So again, the more you eat, the more your body has to metabolize, the shorter your lifespan. A gene that makes it more difficult to use the calories in food has been found in nearly double the average lifespans of fruit flies, from 37 to 71 days. So, yeah, if you have a high metabolism, like, you know, some people, they're skinny and they have a high metabolism. And so these fruit flies that have that kind of a gene are living longer. So those lucky folks like my husband, who can eat a lot of food and not gain weight, and, you know, eat it fast, because that man snacks pretty much all day. I can't imagine eating the amount of food that man eats. But he evidently has a high metabolism. So he's lucky in that regard, because a lot of us don't. I mean, the joke was, when he and I first got married, we'd eat a sandwich, and he said that he could look at my belly and watch that sandwich move. So any extra amount of anything on me shows, you know, food goes right to my body. You know, it's that's just the way it is. Caloric restriction also seems to reduce production of free radicals. So that's another good reason to cut back on the food. Facilitates DNA repair. Again, that's good, because remember, if your DNA is not repairing itself and there's a lot of junk laying around in it, that can lead to problems in your health. And preserves the immune system's ability to fight disease. So again, that's another boon. So, like I say, it's not what any of us wanted to hear. That caloric restriction is the way to live longer. None of us wanted to hear that. But if you are fit for your size, and, you know, you eat according to your size, you're probably going to live longer. That's the bad news. The good news is, they said that, you know, there's no reason why, you know, you can't, unless, you know, that is something that's pre-programmed in your DNA. So, good news and bad news on the aging process. And that's where I'm going to leave you today. I hope that helped you figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. Please like and share this educational program so we can spread it around the world. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to help me out even more, go to my Patreon page and become a patron. Thanks for watching. That's all for now. Until next time.